Are
Diane
you
was not
sure
just a
about this
woman,
guy?
she was a
Of course
force.
he's the one for me.
In a city where survival demanded strength, she had carved her name into success with bare hands and sleepless nights. From a small shop tucked between noisy
Here are the
streets,
documents you
she
needed for
built
the
a
merger.
thriving business that
Good
people
morning.
admired.
Morning, Diane.
Her laughter was warm, her heart was generous, and her beauty, effortless.
Good morning.
Morning,
She was
Diane.
the kind of woman people
Have a great
pointed at
day.
and said, she worked for everything she has.
Good morning, team.
Yet behind that strength was a longing
Keep
she
up the
rarely
great work.
admitted, to be
Time
loved
to dive
deeply,
in.
completely, without conditions.
Chicken, please.
It was at a high-profile dinner
Ma,
meeting,
this is your food.
surrounded by business
you
elites
so
and
much.
clinking glasses,
Enjoy, Ma.
that she met John. He was charming, composed, and carried himself with a quiet confidence that drew Diane in almost instantly. He spoke to her like she mattered beyond her money and success, and for the first time in a long while, Diane felt seen. Their connection grew quickly, almost like a story she had always dreamed of. John knew how to say the right things, how to look at her in a way that made her forget the years she spent fighting alone. Diane gave her heart fully, without hesitation. She supported him financially, emotionally, and even helped elevate his lifestyle. When they got married, it felt like her world had finally aligned. But
you
love,
take each
as
other as
Diane would
husband and
soon
wife?
learn, is
I
not
do.
always what it appears to be. Slowly, John began to change. The compliments faded, replaced by subtle criticisms. At first, it was small: her dress was too loud, her laughter too much, her friendliness suspicious. Diane brushed it off, believing marriage required patience. But what she didn't know was that this was just the beginning of a storm that would try to break her completely. Marriage to John became a silent battle Diane fought alone. Nothing she did was ever enough. If she dressed elegantly, he accused her of trying to attract other men. If she stayed simple, he said she lacked class. When she smiled too much, he questioned her intentions. When she kept to herself, he called her cold. It was like living inside a cage built from words, sharp, constant, and suffocating. Determined to make her husband happy, Diane started going to the gym after he complained about her body. She pushed herself, sweating through exhaustion, hoping he would finally see her efforts. But even that wasn't enough. Instead, John accused her of using the gym to seduce men. Diane was confused. Hurt, yet still hopeful. Outside their home, people admired her. Strangers complimented her beauty, her style, her confidence, even women envied her glow. But inside her home, she was reduced to nothing. The deepest wound came when months turned into years without a child. Diane had always dreamed of motherhood, but it never came. Instead of standing by her, John used it against her. He called her barren, incomplete, less of a woman. His words cut deeper than any physical pain ever could. Diane cried herself to sleep many nights, questioning her worth, her body, even her existence. Yet every morning, she wore her strength like armor and went to her company, the only place she still felt alive. Unknown to her, John had already started living a double life. He found comfort in another woman, Becky, who gave him the admiration he claimed Diane lacked. He spent more nights away, coming home late or not at all. Diane noticed, of course, but love made her endure what she should have walked away from. She kept believing that one day, the man she fell in love with would return. But some men don't return, they only reveal who they truly are. Diane had always feared that one day her marriage would
Lord, I am
collapse,
nervous
but
but
she never
glowing with
imagined
hope.
it would happen so
Bless
brutally.
this union and guide
It was a
my
quiet
heart.
evening when John walked into the house with a coldness she had never seen before. There was no greeting, no warmth, just distance. Diane felt it immediately. Her heart raced as she approached him, trying to read his face, trying to hold on to whatever was left between them. Then he spoke. His words came like stones, heavy and merciless. He told her he was tired, tired of the marriage, tired of her, tired of waiting for a child that never came. Diane froze, her ears ringing as if the world had gone silent. Before she could process his words, he dropped the final blow: his girlfriend. Becky was pregnant for him. The room spun. The same man who once promised her forever now stood before her, declaring the end of everything they had built.
Please.
Diane fell to her knees,
leaving,
tears
Diane.
streaming
Leave me.
uncontrollably as she
Please.
begged him not to leave.
I'm leaving.
She reminded him of their love, their vows, the sacrifices she had made for him. But John's heart had already hardened. He mocked her desperation, telling her she should accept reality. He now had a real family. His words pierced her soul as he began packing his things. When Diane tried to stop him, holding onto his arm like it was the last piece of her life, he shoved her aside. She hit the ground hard,
Don't
her
leave
body
me.
trembling not just from the
Please.
fall,
I said,
but
get
from
out,
the
get out of
pain
my
in her
sight.
heart. Without looking back, John carried his bags, stepped into his car, and drove away to start a new life with Becky. Diane lay there broken, her world shattered in a single moment. By the time help came, she was unconscious. The woman who once
Don't
stood
leave me
strong
like
had
this.
finally collapsed under the weight of a love that destroyed her. When Diane woke up in the hospital, everything felt distant, like a dream she couldn't escape. The white walls, the faint smell of medicine, the quiet beeping of machines, it all reminded her that she was still alive, even though she felt completely empty inside. Sitting beside her was Debbie, her best friend, whose eyes carried both concern and something else, relief. Debbie had never liked John. She had always seen through his charm, always warned Diane, but Diane had been too in love to listen. Now, as she watched her friend cry over a man who didn't deserve her, Debbie couldn't hold back. She told Diane the truth, John leaving was not a loss, it was freedom. But Diane wasn't ready to hear it. To her, John was still the man she loved, the man she had built her dreams around. She insisted she could still fix things, still fight for her marriage. Weeks later, after she was discharged, Diane stepped back into the world, but nothing felt the same. The house was too quiet, too empty. The laughter, the arguments, even the pain, gone. Debbie decided Diane needed to get out, to breathe again, to see life beyond her heartbreak. Reluctantly, Diane agreed. One afternoon, they went to a mall, hoping the noise and movement would distract her. But fate had other plans. As they walked through the crowd, Diane saw him, John. Standing beside him was Becky, glowing with pregnancy and arrogance. Diane's heart skipped painfully. She approached him, her voice shaking as she tried to speak, to reconnect, to hold on to something. But John laughed. Becky joined in, mocking her openly. Becky placed a hand on her stomach, proudly showing off what Diane couldn't give. The humiliation burned deeply. People stared. Diane stood frozen, tears gathering again, while the man she loved treated her like a stranger. Debbie quickly pulled her away, her anger boiling, while Diane's heart broke all over again. Debbie refused to let Diane sink deeper into sadness. That same evening, she took her to a quiet restaurant, hoping a change of environment would help her breathe again. Diane sat silently, staring into nothingness, her mind replaying everything that had happened. She felt invisible, worthless, like she had lost not just her marriage, but herself. Then, unexpectedly, a man approached their table. His name was Jefferson, Jeff for short. He carried a calm confidence, but unlike John, there was something genuine in his eyes. He greeted them politely and expressed interest in Diane, complimenting her in a way that felt sincere. Diane barely responded, her heart still too wounded to entertain any attention. But Debbie, sensing something different about him, engaged him warmly and, without hesitation, gave him Diane's number. Later that night, Diane confronted Debbie angrily. She didn't want another man, didn't want to open herself to more pain. But Jeff didn't give up. He called, sent messages, and even sent flowers to her house. Unknown to Diane, he had quietly followed them that day, not out of obsession, but because something about her had touched him deeply. He wanted to know her story. One afternoon, he surprised her at her office with gifts. Diane was furious. She accused him of stalking her, of crossing boundaries. But Jeff didn't react with anger. Instead, he apologized calmly and told her the truth. He admired her strength, her resilience, and he wanted a chance to know her, nothing more. His persistence was not aggressive, but patient, respectful, and steady. Slowly, Diane began to see something she hadn't seen in a long time: genuine care without pressure. It didn't happen overnight, but Diane slowly allowed Jeff into her life. She told him everything: her marriage, the pain, the insults, the betrayal. She expected him to judge her, to see her as broken. But instead, he listened quietly, holding her pain with understanding. He made her a promise: he would never treat her like she was less than enough. And unlike John, Jeff proved his words through his actions. He celebrated her, supported her, and loved her in ways she had never experienced. Diane began to heal. Her laughter returned, her confidence blossomed, and for the first time in years, she felt safe. Their love grew naturally, without force, without fear. When they got married, it wasn't just a union, it was a new beginning. Then came the miracle Diane never thought possible: she became pregnant. The news brought her to tears. The same woman who had been called barren now carried life within her. Jeff stood by her side, overwhelmed with joy, treating her like the queen she truly was. Diane glowed. Her beauty became even more radiant, her spirit lighter. In time, she gave birth to a beautiful set of twins. Their home was filled with laughter, love, and peace. Her business flourished even more, and her life became everything she once dreamed of, but better. Diane often cried, not from pain, but from gratitude. She had lost everything, only to find something far greater. Love had finally found her in its purest form. While Diane's life blossomed, John's life slowly crumbled. At first, everything seemed perfect with Becky. He gave her everything: money, comfort, attention. But peace never truly lived in their home. One day, their child fell seriously ill and needed blood urgently. Without hesitation, John stepped forward to donate. But something unexpected happened: the blood didn't match. Confused and alarmed, doctors ran further tests. The truth came out like a thunderclap: the child was not his. Shock turned into anger, but John still clung to hope for their second child. Another test was done. The result was the same. Neither of the children belonged to him. The truth unraveled quickly. Becky had been living a double life. Secretly involved with another man, Melvin, whom she had been giving John's money. When confronted, she admitted everything without remorse. The betrayal shattered John completely. In a moment of uncontrollable rage, he lost himself and took Becky's life. It was a decision that sealed his fate forever. He was arrested, tried, and sentenced to prison. The man who once mocked Diane now sat behind bars, left with nothing but regret. Meanwhile, Diane lived her life in peace, surrounded by love, her children, and a husband who cherished her. Her story became a quiet testimony that sometimes, losing what you thought was everything is the only way to find what truly is.